Hello, this is Wealth Philosophy, a space where you and I deconstruct the ancient principles of power and autonomy. In this volatile world of 2026, I choose to remain anonymous. Why? Because I understand one fundamental truth: real power always resides in the shadows. As geopolitics fracture and inflation remains an unsolved equation, ostentation only turns you into a vulnerable target. Today, we aren't here to discuss buying or selling. We are here to talk about mastering your instincts to seize true power, self-mastery, the ultimate silent strength. If you find value in these insights, consider subscribing and saving this video. Perhaps at some point, when the noise of the crowd begins to distract you, we will need to revisit these principles together. The world out there in these early days of March 2026 is moving on fear. You can see it through the news of the irreparable fractures of old alliances, where sanctions are no longer just economic weapons but have become the precursors to direct armed conflicts. It is the constant anxiety over inflation every time you look at your living expenses, which are skyrocketing due to the disruption of strategic energy corridors in the Middle East. And most bitterly, it is the roar of high-performance cars bought with layers of compounding credit debt, the final effort of those trying to prove they are still okay, while the US dollar struggles to maintain its reserve status against the rise of payment systems that are shifting the world order. All the worry or chatter on social media will not help inflation decrease. It only leaves you exhausted and more vulnerable. In this context, I want you to reflect on the story of Ronald Reed, an ordinary janitor who quietly accumulated an $8 million fortune without anyone knowing. I tell this story not to advise you to live in austerity, but so you can understand that true power is in visibility. Power does not lie in owning an expensive item to buy admiration. It lies in knowing exactly what you are doing while everyone else is panicking. You aren't just suppressing the desire to prove you're successful. You are intentionally staying under the radar to prepare for a major decision, one that will completely transform the value of your assets. Humility right now is a positioning tactic. You choose to drive an ordinary car, choosing a lifestyle that puts no one on guard, so you can focus your entire attention on learning and understanding the nature of a system that is being restructured from scratch following the recent geopolitical upheavals. Instead of wasting energy to satisfy the eyes of the public, you are compressing that desire, sharpening it into the keenness needed to wait for a truly worthy opportunity. In the shadows of invisibility, you are not a victim of the economy. You are a predator preparing for the decisive leap to completely change your position once the new order is established. Have you looked at the economic indicators these past few days? Inflation in the US shows no signs of cooling down, and every time a new geopolitical flashpoint ignites, the markets shudder violently. In that thick atmosphere of instability, I see panic gradually seizing the mind of the crowd. People are beginning to frantically search for a safe haven. They ask one another where to jump in, what to buy immediately so their money doesn't lose its value. It is precisely within this chaotic context that I am reminded of Jesse Livermore. Livermore was no amateur. He was the man who made $100 million, an unfathomable sum in 1929, by short-selling at the exact moment the entire market collapsed. He owned luxury yachts, extravagant mansions, and power that could shake the very foundations of the stock exchange. However, Livermore's tragedy did not occur when the market went against him, but when he went against himself. There were periods where, despite identifying the trend, Livermore could not suppress the urge to act immediately. He admitted in his memoirs that many times he lost money not because of a wrong judgment, but because he jumped in too early before the market had sent a confirming signal. Impatience causes even a genius mind to go blind. The climax came after his legendary victories, when complacency and the fear of being left behind by new waves caused him to violate his own ironclad disciplines. He went bankrupt multiple times, and ultimately one of the greatest minds in the world of speculation took his own life amidst mental desperation. As you see inflation eroding your wallet every day in 2026, your instincts will also scream for action, just as Livermore's did back then. And usually at that exact moment, the system will dangle attractive short-term bargains in front of you amidst the volatility of war. But that is precisely when the trap is set. I choose to pause and remind myself, the greatest humility of an asset master is knowing how to admit they do not yet have enough knowledge to understand a new wave. Calmly standing on the sidelines and observing while everyone else is tearing each other apart is not cowardice. It is the ultimate self-restraint to preserve resources. I accept watching a few small opportunities pass by. I would rather let inflation nibble away a tiny bit than let restlessness push me into a mistaken decision that wipes out my entire position. The goal for you and me is not to make a few extra pennies just to ease our psyche, but to keep ourselves quiet enough to recognize the true opportunity, the moment when a decision based on thorough preparation will completely transform the lifetime value of your assets, or at the very least ensure the risk of loss is at its absolute lowest. There is an illusion that the media constantly pumps into our heads, that the wealthy always live in the spotlight and the envy of the crowd. The truth is quite the opposite. The real financial dynasties live in a parallel world. Their luxury is not meant for you to see. It exists behind closed gates, in secluded enclaves that even Google Maps struggles to access. They don't need to restrain their enjoyment, they only restrain their visibility. They understand a survival rule. If you cannot be located, you cannot be attacked. But what about us? This society is teaching you the reverse. It teaches you that if you achieve even a small success, you must flaunt it immediately. A luxury car driving through a crowded street, a glamorous check-in photo. You think that's power? No. That is the moment you turn yourself into a target. You are inviting the scrutiny of tax authorities, the envy of neighbors, and the attention of people who bring zero value to your life. In 2026, as everything becomes expensive and the resentment of the crowd out there is rising, choosing to live ordinarily in public is not cowardice. It is a high-level defensive tactic. Learn to detach yourself the same way the elite do. You have assets, you have cash flow, you have big plans, but let those things stay in the shadows. The fact that you drive a common car to work or wear simple logoless clothing is, in reality, you are purchasing your own peace. This peace is valuable because it buys you time. While others are busy playing the role of the successful person in front of strangers, you use that time to sit back, observe how global capital is flowing, learn the mechanics of the system, and sharpen yourself. No one is on guard against someone who looks ordinary, and that is your greatest advantage. When your opponent doesn't know what cards you're holding, they've already lost half the battle. True power does not lie in how high a seat you occupy for people to look up at. It lies in understanding the global rules of the game while keeping yourself safe in a blind spot. You control your own curiosity, you control your need for validation, and from there you control your life. Do not let the system drag you into the light before you are strong enough to own the stage. In short, power does not lie in what you display, but in the resources you silently control. Your self-restraint today is the foundation for your absolute freedom tomorrow. If you find these perspectives valuable and wish to go deeper with me into the principles of building sustainable wealth, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That is the best way to ensure you don't miss the upcoming analyses in this journey. I wish you great success soon on your path to mastering yourself and your finances. To help you visualize the power of self-restraint, I want to tell you about a longtime friend of mine. She is the owner of a business with very stable cash flow. Naturally, being a woman of means, she has luxury tastes and buys high-end designer goods, but there is a fatal difference between her and the nouveau riche out there. She doesn't buy luxury brands to borrow confidence. To her, those are merely personal preferences, not tools for flaunting or defining her self-worth. What she is truly addicted to, what she pours her entire heart into, is intellectual growth. Even though her business runs like clockwork, she never stops learning, researching, and expanding high-quality relationships. When I reconnected with her after a long time, we didn't talk much about big deals or shiny profit figures. What impressed me most was the psychological freedom she possessed. She shared, "When you master your mind, you are no longer swept up in the emotional waves of the market." It is thanks to that stillness and continuously cultivated wisdom that she maintains a razor-sharp strategic vision. While other business owners are struggling and confused by the upheavals of 2026, she remains incredibly lucid, making the right calls at pivotal moments. So, what is the lesson here? I have 3 messages for you. Accept an ordinary appearance when necessary. Don't let someone else's image of success shake you. You can buy luxury if you like it and can afford it, but never let it define you. Remember, true value lies in assets that generate cash flow and autonomy in decision-making. Invest in static capital. Intellect. This is the time to read, research, and deeply understand the laws governing money in the world. When everyone is panicking, knowledge is the only thing that keeps you calm. Never stop learning, even when you think you've already won. Learn to say not yet. If you don't fully understand it yet, don't deploy your capital yet. If the timing isn't right yet, don't reveal your full resources yet. This self-restraint is the most powerful leverage you can possess. It prevents you from burning out in long-term races. The psychological freedom you gain from restraining your instincts and constantly elevating your intellect will allow you to face market storms with a completely different mindset. You are no longer someone running from the storm. You are the one ready to navigate your ship through it spectacularly. After everything we've discussed, there is one truth you must accept. Financial power belongs only to those who master themselves before they seek to master their cash flow. Do not fear the world seeing you as ordinary. That ordinariness is a privilege. It is the perfect camouflage for you to silently accumulate resources. What you should truly fear is not having the fortitude to remain silent when necessary. Fear that your ego is so large that it is willing to burn your future just to trade it for a few seconds of fleeting gratification in the eyes of others. You see, the world in 2026 will still face many storms. Old structures are collapsing and new rules of the game are being formed. But there is an ancient law that has never changed. He who masters his instincts masters his destiny. If you maintain the humility to learn and the self-restraint to wait, you will be the last one standing when the storm passes. At that point, those who once mocked your mediocrity will have to look up at the results you have patiently built in the shadows. Strength does not come from what you display. Strength comes from what you can walk away from while still feeling at peace. I believe that if you have listened to this podcast until these final moments, you are ready to enter the ranks of true masters. Keep your mind lucid, for it is the most valuable asset that no crisis can ever strip away. I wish you worthy achievements on this journey of self-liberation. Don't forget to subscribe to receive notifications for upcoming content, where we will continue to deconstruct the principles of sustainable wealth together.